This is Dr. Lawrence W. Moore. I'm here with my assistant Crafty, and Inga. She's in and out. She's a roaming producer. In any case, this is an edition of Sunday Night Synthesis where I have an important announcement to make. Well, actually two. First one is, originally when I started Sunday Night Synthesis, I decided to make it something that went in parallel with my Learning Synthesis for Pure Data series. That series was devoted towards learning synthesis as well as learning pure data, building your own synth modules and things. And then I decided Sunday Night Synthesis would be my alternative to that, which is focused on physical analog outboard hardware. And that's what I've been doing. But I want to expand it a little more to include a variety of synthesis topics that I come up with on a weekly basis. This is basically my weekly series where every Sunday night I can come speak to you and talk to you about different subjects in synthesis, sound design, electronic music composition in general. And so I want to expand it so it can really include all these things and be my weekly series. And then in addition to that, Learning Synthesis with Pure Data will stay the way it is. Right now, since I'm building things for LWMRAC, those episodes will come out as I complete things and error check things. And then, in addition to that, I'd like to start something else called Electronic Music Production with Reason. And this is going to be a series where I use the software Reason to kind of like introduce concepts about not only synthesis, but the production of electronic music, some processing, signal processing, and using sends and receives as well as control signals and MIDI and basically all these things. The series will be something where if you use another DAW or even analog modules, you'll still be able to benefit from it because the concepts will be similar. But if you do use Reason, it'll also be something where you can learn more about it. Since it's a software that I use at one of the schools I teach at, I use it frequently, and I'd like to basically develop a series for that as well. So those episodes will come out as I complete them. Same thing with Learning Synthesis with Pure Data. But for this Sunday Night Synthesis, I want this to be a weekly thing where I come to you about what I'm working on or topics that interest me, announcements, things like that. And that's basically it. So those are my two announcements, but rather than just this being an announcement episode, I'm going to show you a little something in Reason here that I think you can also apply to physical modules and other software. Something interesting that I just kind of found by accident. Although I really kind of knew about it, I just found this result by accident and thought maybe it'd be a neat thing to check out. So without any further ado, we're going to just check this out. And then I'll see you next week for another episode. Okay, so here I am in Reason. This is the rack view, for those of you not familiar with Reason. Basically, like your plug-in instruments and effects appear in this rack. And it has basically a master section here, which means your main out. But this integrates with your mixer. Basically, here's the mixer. I have one track because I have one instrument. But in addition to that, I have a bunch of things set up as sends. So these are the sends on this track that are being used that are going out to some effect modules here below the master section. I'm going to close the mixer, but there we go. Close the mixer. Basically, all you need to know is my main instrument is down here. This is the SubTractor, and basically it's going out the main out, plus it's being sent to these effects in varying amounts, two different types of reverb, an echo box, and a delay. And down below it, I'm using the matrix step sequencer here. It has two different views. It has 32 steps across here. This is like its CV view. This is some CV I'm sending it. Spanning 2 octaves though. But that's like a bass line that I composed for this bass sound in here. The bass sound itself is just a regular kind of like bass instrument sound. And then the matrix sequencer is feeding it its notes. And basically you can see that from behind. When I hit the tab key, you can see basically it has CV out, the pitch out, as well as a gate out. Here's the CV, here's the gate, but it also has another view for something called curve, which is like another CV signal. That one I don't have hooked up yet, but I am going to hook it up. What I basically was doing was just like in preparation for my tutorial on Reason, I decided to take its default setup, which is this, like when you open up a default song, it has already a delay, an echo, and 2 types of reverb connected to the master section. And then you can use the mixer for, as you add instruments, you can then decide, you know, if they get sent to it or not. Here we go. Here's the send section. So you could send, like I am, from the bass to these effects. Alright, so basically I just did that. And then I was playing with it and something happened that was kind of cool. So I'll show you that in a minute. If I can close you. Hold on a second here. There we go. And open up the sequencer view. Basically, the pattern I have here is sequenced in here. Basically, you just have a clip and you make it whatever pattern you want it to be, bank A, pattern 1, and that's what this pattern is, although there's 2 different things in it. There's the curve aspect of the pattern and the step aspect. So both of those are part of the same pattern. Bank A, pattern 1. And so that's being sent here to the SubTractor, which has the sound. And so let me go. I'm going to turn off the click. So anyway, these are the steps here. And here's the gate signals to turn the notes on and off. So it's like pitch and gate being sent together to the SubTractor, and it has this bass line that's swooping octaves, and I have to go to 2 different screens to see the steps in each octave. And so that's why it sounds like pebble, 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 you know. So it's a pretty simple bass line. But then when I decided, alright, I want to take this curve and patch this into something, well, you could draw it in, and that's what I did. I could even change it a little bit, but I'm going to keep it like a lump in the middle. I didn't mean that. This side is not sloping like the other. Let's make it a fairly symmetric lump. It's not quite, but I guess that's not important. But anyway, I turn this around, and this is where, of course, in the back you can hook up your CVs different ways. Let me move this down. So here's the curve out. And so I was thinking, what are some things in SubTractor that I could patch it to? And the thing is, already on the SubTractor, I took the filter here. This is the filter's cutoff frequency. You see it's highlighted green. That's because down here I already have this section here where I created some automation for it, and so I'm automating the filter. So if I press play, you'll hear the filter rise in frequency. See here, it's going to start rising in frequency. Right about now. Okay, so you could hear that automated. So that's one thing that you would commonly do. Here, I'm going to actually have it do that earlier. Let's make it a kind of like a triangular shaped rise. Trying to move this little node over. There we go. So now I'll start doing it earlier. So we have this as a pattern already. So, okay, instead of filter, I was thinking what else could we go to? And by accident, I just slapped it right on the oscillator frequency. And I got this. And I was like, that sounds all new music-y. That sounds all kind of like computer music kind of stuff. And yeah, it was pretty cool. Basically, what ends up happening is you still have the pitch being sent here, but then this curve is kind of counteracting it because it's changing the oscillator's frequency here. And, you know, you just get a combined result of two different things, you know, going and affecting really the same attribute, meaning pitch, at the same time. And it just kind of sounds cool. So anyway, you know, I just thought that was a neat thing. Other things you can do, for example, I could send this to filter 1's resonance. Filter 1's cutoff frequency is already automated. But now let me have this curve, which repeats itself every like, I think it's every like 4 bars. Basically, oh no, since these are at 16th notes and there's 32 here, every 2 bars. So basically, that curve is now going to be affecting resonance, and the cutoff frequency is still being affected by this automation curve right here. So let's hear this. So every 2 bars we're hearing kind of like a fluctuation in resonance. But since the filter frequency is going up, the resonance sounds different because it's higher in pitch. Now it's a little too high in pitch to really be worth it. So, you know, if I wanted to keep this effect more audible, I could take the peak here and move it down a bit. So now it's staying within an audible frequency range. And it's coming back down again. So anyway, as you see, you know, using automation, and then sending things from this pattern sequencer, I could take a very simple repetitive bass line and give it more dynamic activity that way. So you're kind of combining two things. You're combining something that's repetitive and something that can be kind of like locked into as like a groove or something somewhat trance-inducing through repetition, and then also changes over time. So you're kind of like having some change over time that's gradual, and that makes for some, you know, music that kind of keeps the listener where they're at, and at the same time where they're at kind of transforms. And so I just thought I'd just show you a little bit of this, and basically the new series will be starting from square one with Reason. But as you can see, a lot of these concepts can be applied to other software or to synth modules that are external. And so things like this, I could actually try this outboard, for example, with my Korg SQ1, which has it's a 16-step sequencer, but it has 2 rows of knobs that can be run in parallel, so you could send 2 different CV signals at the same time. So I could be, for example, with this thing, sending pitch to somewhere through its pitch in, and then, you know, I can do the resonance thing easily. But if I wanted to affect the oscillator's frequency at the same time as pitch, well, it'd have to have inputs for that. But fortunately, this does. So you can get your new music-y, electronic music, old school. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. When we look at the stars, we see many a strange thing. Some are brighter than others. Some are dimmer than others. Some cluster together in formations called constellations. Yeah, that kind of stuff. You can make science films with that. All right. So that's it for this week. Next week, we'll be exploring something else. Inga, we know you're there. It's kind of obvious. Hello. This is our new producer.
Well,
What she produces is entertainment.